how do you gauge a successful film when it's a blockbuster like this that doesn't go to the theater? How much information are you guys getting in the aftermath to think like, wow, this paid off? Or
Yeah. Well,
or is that even reliable?
Yeah. Funny. Well, without sounding incredibly selfish, I mean, if I were a producer, I'd be chasing that stuff obviously like crazy. I don't really worry about that too much. Like, I'd never bother finding out, to be honest, because without sounding like too much like some pretentious artist, once you agree that you're doing something, you just throw everything you've got into it creatively. And really, as a composer, your mission is an artistic mission, that there is this motion picture, right? And it has a story and it has characterization. You have to break it down like literary criticism, and the satisfaction you get is a bit like pottery or building a tree house or something. Like, you've made it. Now, obviously, I can't be that naive. The only reason any of this is possible and the orchestras can be paid for is it's part of a commercial project, and you're lucky enough that it has a huge budget. And I'm very grateful for all that. Otherwise, I'd be just tinkering around on a piano and it would just end up in my iPhone and people would never hear it and nothing could be paid for. But the whole kind of commercial infrastructure that allows that to be possible, thank God, is not my problem. I'm sort of half reasonable at writing music. I would be a terrible business person. I have no intention of setting up a studio or a streaming service. And there are plenty of talented, commercially minded people who know how to make all these structures work and know how to set up a project such that there is all this money to make it possible. I have no idea how they do that and how they make their money back. I'd take a bit more of an interest if everything was collapsing and there was like no way to do any of it. But I wouldn't be. It's not like I'd be able to solve and go, oh, let's set up Jackman Studios, right, and I'll solve all these commercial problems. The only bit I'm any good at is sort of artistic collaboration with filmmakers, and it's different. You know, Joe and Anthony have to have all these directing and producer skills, but once they got their own studio, I mean, this is all stuff above my pay grade. You know, if you build your own studio, you know, you've got to have all these financial, you need the maturity to build a company and get investment and all the rest of it. And of course, one of the lucky things about being a film composer, even more than say a script writer, is by the time your phone's ringing, it exists. Think about that for a second. Think about how many meetings go on every day about potentially this, potentially that. We'll put a bit of development in it, you know, maybe do a script revision. We'll think about it, blah, blah, blah. There are so many stages. By the time my phone rings, it's been greenlit. The money has been raised. The giant, almost military operation of shooting the damn thing has all taken place. There's even a first cut. They've sat in the cutting room with an amazing picture editor. They put this. So by the time it lands on my door, so many things have needed to have already taken place, you know. So I know that's a little off the question, but it's similar in that, in the same way, once you start writing music, there are a million logistical, financial things that very smart people, much smarter than me, have all somehow resolved such that this thing has been brought into being. Similarly, when it comes to the commercial side of it, and people need to find a way, you know, to make it work financially, that's just so far outside of, you know, what I know about. I guess there's a bit.
You got enough to deal with, I guess.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I guess the only bit which is more of an aesthetic, less of a commercial thing, and it's probably me just feeling traditional. There is something nice about a cinematic release, and not so much to do with crunching numbers, more to do with. I know these days people have, regardless, you know, compared to like the 70s and 80s, even if you don't have a super high income household, TVs and the speakers that come with them are definitely a lot better in 2022 than like 1982. You'd have to be a super wealthy person to have some crazy setup in 1982, you know. So it's true, people, you know, the sound is pretty good. However, it is not the same as showing up. Apart from anything else, in terms of concentration, if you go to the cinema, you're not quickly making a coffee and then like putting your kid back to bed because he's woken up and then taking a couple of phone calls and then like hitting pause and then coming back. You have committed. You are sitting down, and unless the movie's so horrible you actually walk out, you are sitting down to have a committed experience. And the screen is huge and the sound system isn't 2 speakers, or if you're lucky, someone might have 5.1 at home. It's the full Monty, you know. So